Hazel K. I always remember her long hair. It was an inch and a half long.
Welcome to Still a Part of Us, a place where moms and dads share the story of their child who was stillborn or who died in infancy. I'm Winter.
And I'm Lee. We are grateful you joined us today. Please note that this is a story of loss and has triggers.
Thanks to our lost parents who are willing to be vulnerable and share their children with us.
If you're listening to this podcast, just know that on our YouTube channel there are pictures and videos that are related to the stories that are being shared.
Subscribe and share it with a friend that might need it and tell them to subscribe. Why? Because people need to know that even though our babies are no longer with us, they're still a part of us. Welcome to Still a Part of Us. We are so grateful to have Bailey here with us today to talk about her sweet daughter, Hazel. I am really looking forward to this conversation. I'm a little nervous, I'm going to be honest, because of a part of her story that is a little tricky. So I'm so grateful for you, Bailey, for coming on today. So welcome.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us where you're at and what your family looks like the time that Hazel was born.
I live in a small town in North Dakota. I was just with my boyfriend and I at the time. We just got a house. We were starting jobs. We were young, 21 years old.
Okay. What were you doing for a job and kind of what were some of your hobbies?
I was working at a daycare, and it was during COVID, so there wasn't much going on.
Yeah.
But I loved being with my family and my nieces and nephews.
Yeah, that's great. And just a little bit of point of reference. How long ago was Hazel born?
She was born 3.5 years ago.
3.5 years ago. Okay. Yep. So right smack dab in the middle of COVID. You guys, I like it's nuts talking to people that have gone through the COVID experience and having been pregnant or given birth. So there's like an extra dose of sympathy from me because I just like that is hard. It is hard. So okay, so you guys were you had purchased a house together, you guys were young, living together, and were you planning on getting pregnant? Was that something that was in your
Not at all.
Not at all. Okay, so it's super surprising.
Yes.
Okay.
Very surprising.
So tell me how that went then, like when you found out, and then did you tell your ex about that?
Yeah, so it's kind of a funny story, but I was by myself at the house and I was just watching some videos on like YouTube and there's some like families that I watched recently or whatever, and they were all getting pregnant or whatever. And I was like, I don't know. I just had a random test in my closet and I was just like, let's just take it. Like no signs of pregnancy at all. None. And then I
That
went
was
and
just
took it and there it was.
No way.
Yeah, it was very shocking. I had no signs of pregnancy. Didn't even miss my period yet. Like it
Nothing.
was very soon, obviously. And
Yeah,
then,
completely.
yeah. And then, yeah, I called him right away and it was a shock to us both. We didn't know how to take it in. We didn't know what to do. He was working out of town at the time. And I was like, well, there's always those things of like false positives. I was like, that could be a thing.
Right.
I was like, it was late at night. It was like 9 p.m. And I was like, I'll run to Dollar General real quick because we live in a small town, and went to grab a couple more tests, took them, and sure enough, I was pregnant.
I just can't believe that you just took a test on a whim. Like, you're like, everybody's getting pregnant. That is so funny. But you know, sometimes I guess you get it when you get a feeling. You get a feeling about something.
I guess so. Yeah, I was not expecting it at all.
Yeah. So did you end up telling anybody like that you
I
were
called my
pregnant?
mom
Okay.
right away because I was by myself, and I was told her. I started bawling. I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm young. I don't have like a secure job. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to afford this. It's like a big step in the life.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was. And then I called my dad and I said the same thing to him. And he's like, we got this. I'll be there for you. I'll help you out when you need. You guys will be the perfect parents.
Okay. So you got a lot of support. That's good.
Yes, very.
Did your boyfriend at the time tell his his family, or is he from the same town, by the way? Or
Yep,
is okay?
yep, same town. His
Okay.
family lives in town. My family lives like 30, 45 minutes away.
Okay. Okay. So did you guys
Yeah,
tell
he
them?
called, I think, one of his parents. I want to say his dad. And it was kind of the same thing. I think obviously there's a lot of anger, like what did we just do, but also excitement, but also wondering how are we going to do this?
Yeah.
And he has a very supportive family as well. So it's nice having two supportive families.
Yeah, that's great. It's always a little tricky. Yeah. Especially when it's a surprise and you're like, wait a second, this was
Right.
not part of the plan right now.
Yeah.
For
real.
Yeah. Okay. So you guys were pregnant, and obviously, like you said, quite early for you not even to notice that. I mean, your period hadn't been skipped or anything.
Mhm.
Did you end up like setting up an appointment with an OBGYN? Did you have a regular OBGYN that you were going to go see?
Actually, my cousin works at the OBGYN in the town, and she kind of knew who to put me with or who to try put me with.
Okay.
So yeah, I called them and made an appointment. Yeah, I found out in early October, and think I had my first appointment in November. Yeah, I was by myself because my boyfriend at the time was in the National Guard and he had to leave for some training.
Okay. Yeah.
Out of town or out of state. And so I went to the appointment by myself.
Was it kind of early, like 8, 9 weeks or so?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
And my sister came, met me there, and then they did the bedside ultrasound.
Mhm.
And they're like, just a heads up, like sometimes we can't always see the heart or hear the heart because it's so little.
Mhm.
And then I remember like hearing it right away. And they're like, oh, well, you got a strong heartbeat right there.
Oh, good.
And then, yeah, so that made it feel all real. Got a little bit of pictures there. So I got to send it to my boyfriend. And yeah, it was pretty special.
Yeah. It is really amazing seeing it looks like a little bean with a heart.
Yeah.
Okay. And then how were you feeling at the time? I mean, now that it was a little bit farther along, were you starting to feel any morning sickness or any other pregnancy symptoms?
Yes, I got really sick during my
Oh,
pregnancy.
darn it.
But I mean, over the sickness, it was all okay. And no other problems going on. So that's always a plus.
Yeah,
I
totally.
was really sick and tired, obviously, but
Yeah. And working and
yeah.
doing all
And
the
then
things.
the COVID started.
Yeah, I know. I was like, so because you got pregnant at the very beginning of COVID, is that right? So
Yeah.
early 2020, I think the United States shut down in March, I think,
Yep.
essentially. So you guys went, so you're going along, and then tell me about how some of these doctor's appointments were going, kind of early on.
They were going really good. I just went in, came out. It was like the quickest appointments ever.
Just because it was, I know.
Those are good.
Yeah, it's like, oh, everything looks fine. Yeah.
Yeah. And when we came around the 20 weeks and when we were finding out the gender,
Mm-hmm.
we didn't want to know, but we wanted to have like a little surprise party or
Oh,
whatever.
okay. Yeah.
So that was kind of a cool ultrasound, getting to see her for the first time, like up on the big screen, seeing her feet move and her toes and her hands and just her wiggles. And I remember the doctor kept telling us to like look away and then we can look. And then he's like, I just got to double check. And then we look in. So then we're like, oh, maybe it's a boy then. But we didn't know for sure.
Yeah. Okay. I've always kind of wondered how that works, but like, oh yeah, look away.
Yeah.
I'm checking things out.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Okay. So, and was your boyfriend able to be there at that appointment?
Yep.
Okay.
That was his first appointment coming to and seeing her.
Oh, good.
So pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And how did she look at that time?
Good.
Like any issues and was everything looking good with your placenta? Everything was looking okay.
Everything was on track.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. And then tell me how how things went along with your next appointments and anything that you guys did to kind of celebrate. Oh yeah, maybe tell me a little bit about your gender reveal party
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's always kind of fun to hear those.
It is kind of funny too. So we went to my sister's afterwards and I dropped off the little envelope and I was just wanted to look at it. I was like, no, it's got to be a surprise for everyone.
Yeah.
So put it in their mailbox and we drove off out of town. And what we did was my sister boiled eggs and then colored them pink and blue. And then there was obviously one raw egg that was pink or blue. And so we had a couple of our friends and family over at my sister's, and we had to crack an egg over our head. And whatever color it was cracked.
That is so fun.
Yeah. And I was like, oh no, like you get your hair done, you get all prettied up or whatever. And I was like, the egg is going to crack on me. I just know it. But my boyfriend took one. He took a pink one right away. And there it was. It cracked right away, the first one.
The very first one.
Yeah.
Oh. Yes. That's perfect then.
Yeah.
It was on
so I was
him.
like, oh my gosh.
Were you guys expecting well, obviously he grabbed the pink one, so was he expecting a girl or was that just
he kind of said like, I'll start on this end, you start on this end, and then we'll meet like in the middle of the card.
Okay.
I was like, okay, whatever.
So were you excited for a girl, boy?
Oh, I was so excited for a girl.
Yeah.
But I knew my bank account was not going to be excited.
No, girls are expensive. Seriously.
Yeah. But no, I was excited. Growing up, I always thought I was going to be a boy mom. So it was kind of cool to change it around, and it was going to be a girl mom. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got to learn how to do hair. I got to learn how to do all these things.
That's so fun. I know. There's
and
lots
like
of
at the time, I was not a girly girl. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to paint her room pink. It can't be gray.
Yeah. This is going to be tough, man.
Yes. But no, it was so much fun.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Googled all the things afterwards, buying all the things, and
you just get it's so exciting.
It is so exciting, yeah.
And did you guys
actually the first girl grandchild on my side.
On your side, and that's so exciting. Like,
yes.
Yeah, grandparents get so excited about that kind of thing because then they get to buy stuff too.
Yes, yeah.
When you guys found out that you were having a girl, did you guys start thinking of names, or did you already have a list kind of going for names?
Yeah, so we got that. I always want to say it's like a Tinder app, but it's for names.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like you pick and they pick, and then if you guys come together on one, it shows up on your guys' list or whatever. So we went through that, and I always liked Hazel. It was always a name that was probably on the top of my list or in my list. I used to nanny a little girl, and her name was Hazel, and I always loved it from that second on. And I was like, I'm going to have a girl named Hazel one day.
It's a sweet, sweet name. It's so cute.
Yes. And yeah, we came up with a couple names, kept going back and forth, and we picked one. I think we picked I think we said Delilah right away. And then I was just like, no, I'm just not feeling it. We got to come up with different ones. And you just go back and forth through the whole pregnancy. But yeah, we had a couple that we liked, but we didn't want to tell anybody the name.
Yes. Oh, that's good. Okay. Yeah. Because people have opinions about names.
Yes. Yes.
They'll shoot you down and you're like, used to know somebody in high school and they were a jerk.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, awesome. I think that's a cute name. Okay. So then the pregnancy is going along at 20 weeks you found out, well, right. I guess it was right around 20 weeks.
Yep.
That you guys had that. Okay. And then how were you feeling the rest of tell me about any other appointments after that.
I was feeling really good until about, I want to say like 34, 35 weeks. I started getting really sick.
Oh.
And throughout my whole pregnancy, I dropped 30 pounds. So I never gained, I dropped. Because of how sick I was, I wasn't able to eat. I kept going into the ER getting fluids.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And then I broke out in cold sores all over my mouth one day, and I just couldn't eat or drink anything. So
Oh,
then I had to go in and get fluids, and then they sent me up to a different town with a more high risk pregnancy doctor.
okay.
And so I went in there, and that's actually where I got the last 3D photos of her.
Oh,
So they did that. And then I got to see, I had this video of like her hair through the ultrasound, and you could like see it like standing up.
that
It
is
was
the
crazy.
cutest. That is the cutest.
Yeah. But then after all the medications, I kind of felt a lot better. And I
Okay.
was feeling good again.
It just was like a viral infection or something.
Yeah. It
Oh,
was
that's no
it was
fun.
weird, but yeah.
Yeah, that's it's so tricky, especially like you mentioned you were during COVID and all sorts of other things were popping up too, like
Mhm. I thought I had COVID, and then
it
that
wasn't.
first when it was first starting out, you're like, oh my gosh, you have COVID, like it's a big thing.
Yeah, but you didn't have that. It was something else.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
it
Okay.
is. It was.
But Hazel was doing okay even
Yeah, she
throughout
was
all of that.
fine the
Okay.
whole time. It was nothing with her, so that's all. I was like, all
Yeah.
right, I'll go through it all
You're
if you're gonna be all right.
yeah. If you're being miserable, I know. Oh,
Yeah.
we do so much for our kids, right?
Yeah, for real. And I was pretty much by myself. My boyfriend at the time had an out of town job, so he was gone during the week. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
it was a lot by myself. But
Yeah, that is. Did you take anybody with you though to some of those appointments, like your sister or your mom?
yep, my mom and my sister usually came with me
Oh, good.
on like the
Okay.
bigger ones.
Yeah.
The smaller ones I just went in by myself. But
Okay. And okay, so then tell me, so that's around 34 weeks that you got quite sick.
mhm.
Was that like a week or so? How long was that
Yeah,
sickness?
that was actually, yeah, probably a couple weeks, 2 weeks.
Oh, you were
Yep.
sick a long time. Oh,
Yeah, it was miserable.
oh, that's not good.
No.
And then yeah, just tell me as you go on, tell me what happens.
It went on. Obviously, COVID was there, and so places were shut down. We didn't really hang out with friends unless it was like a small gathering at the
Mm-hmm.
house or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then it came to be May, and things were going good. We got our nursery all set. Our nursery was ready. It was ready to go. Our bags were packed around the 37 weeks.
You guys probably had a baby shower and everything
Well,
beforehand.
actually, I should, yeah. My baby shower was going to take place in March, like right when the pandemic hit.
Uh-huh.
So actually, I had to have everyone just mail me the gifts.
Oh,
I never really had a baby shower.
yeah, darn it. Yeah.
But I just remember like gifts coming in, and it was like Christmas every day. You walk up to the door, and there's a bunch of
You're
packages.
like, "We'll take it."
Yep. And so I actually just kept all them in packages until my like baby shower day.
Yes,
And then
and
we opened it up on that day all
oh,
together, me
oh,
and my
good.
boyfriend. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, that's a I guess a good enough way to have a baby shower during the
Yeah, I
middle
was
of
like,
a
well, we might as well
global
make it worth
pandemic.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I don't think we need anything else. Her room
Yeah.
is packed full of
Okay.
boxes.
So you guys were well stocked though. I mean,
Yes, we
and got a
were.
lot
We're
of love from family and friends. So that's great.
yes, very supportive.
Okay. So sorry to interrupt you. So
No,
you
you're
guys
fine.
everything was packed. Nursery was ready to go.
Yep, yep. And it was Memorial weekend, and it was that Saturday, the 23rd. My sister has been begging me to do maternity photos, and I'm not a photo girl. I don't like being in photos, but she's like, you need to remember this. It's your first pregnancy. I
Yeah.
was like, okay, fine. So I got ready. We got ready, and then we headed out to the lake. That was only like 20 miles away
Mm-hmm.
at my sister's, and she had this farm land in the back of her lake place, and that's where we just took our maternity photos, and
Cool.
they turned out wonderful. I'm very thankful I have them. And yeah, that was the 23rd. And then the next morning was the 24th, obviously. And woke up, and I was going to go out to the lake to see my family again while my boyfriend at the time went out to a friend's house out in the country. And
Okay.
so we separated, went different ways. And I decided hi to my family, and then they were packing up to leave. I was like, oh, shoot, like, you guys are leaving, so I got to figure out a different thing to do today. And So I said goodbye to them, and then I went back to the house, and I called up my boyfriend and I was like, "What are you guys doing?" And he's like, "Well, you can come out here if you want. There's nothing really going on." I was like, "Okay." And then I always remember like going in and out of the house. Like I would go to my car, then I'll be like, "Oh, I forgot my water bottle."
Mm.
I go back in the house, then I come back out, and I'm like, "Oh, I need to do this." So it's like those little things that you always remember. Like, were there signs? I don't know, but it was just it felt like forever to get out there. And so I went out there out in the country, and a couple of my friends were there, which was nice. So it was people to talk to while the boys hung out.
Mm-hmm.
And the boys were just talking. Us girls got bored, so we went driving. And then we came back, and some more people were coming over. And it was kind of a first time like hanging out with friends with the whole COVID going on.
Yeah.
And so we were sitting down around the table, and I remember like the topic about guns kept coming up, and which is whatever. And I remember there was a certain thing that they were talking about, and it was like about the grips on a gun, how the grips do whatever on a gun.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember there was a gun brought out, and it was on the table, and again, talking about the grips or whatever. And then the person next to me grabbed the gun, looking at the grips, checking it out or whatever. And like when I say next to me, like we were literally right next to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when all of a sudden I was in shock, and did not know what happened. My ears were ringing, and I knew the gun went off. And I remember just like, what is happening? And everyone's just like freaking out around the table. And I looked down and I was like, I just got shot. And that was me.
So the person
And
that was right next to you had grabbed the gun, was just kind of messing with it,
yeah,
and it discharged.
it discharged. Yeah.
And
And
so where was where you said it was on the table, but did this person have it in their hand or like
yeah,
in
so
their
they took
lap?
it from the table, and I'm guessing it was on their lap. I think I was talking to somebody else on this side, and then the person next to me was on the other side. So we were talking, and then all of a sudden it went off, and then you're just in so much shock right away. And I just remember everybody just freaking out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where did you get shot?
It was right in my bottom of my hip.
So bottom of your hip area, and did it go
Between my hip, it's like where your hip and your leg meet.
Yes. Okay. So
Right through there.
yeah. So did it go through you? Or was I'm assuming the bullet was lodged somewhere? Question mark.
Yep. So actually, that's the first thing that everybody did. They came over and tried to find the exit,
Yes.
and we couldn't find it. Couldn't find it anywhere. I wasn't bleeding. Nothing was happening. That they just couldn't find it. I remember someone calling 911. Yeah. And
Were you in pain? I mean, like, I know you were in shock, obviously. Did you feel any pain? I mean, because shock can help protect you.
right. Oh yeah, for
you know.
sure. Yeah. No, not that I remember. I wasn't in any pain until later on when I went into back labor. But
Oh,
no, I know they kept telling me I couldn't move, I couldn't do anything.
okay.
I remember I was sweating. I started feeling lightheaded. I was starting to like be a fainty feeling.
Yeah.
And I just like kept telling them what I needed. I was like, I need an ice rake. I need this. Well, they're still checking me out all over, trying to find this exit wound, and nowhere to be found. And so obviously my first thought was my baby. Is my baby going to be okay?
Yeah.
And if I go, is my baby going to be okay?
Yeah.
I did not know what was happening. Didn't know if I was just going to be alive for a little bit, and then I go. I was like, I just need to know that my baby's going to be okay for me to be stronger.
Yeah.
In this moment, I just wanted to close my eyes and let go.
Yeah.
But I kept closing my eyes and then forcing myself to stay awake because I didn't want to pass out.
Mm-hmm.
until the EMT came, and there was a bunch of them. They came and they brought, I remember, a stethoscope and listening to Hazel's heartbeat. And I just kept telling me, like, I don't want to know. I don't want to know right now if you can hear it or not. And then later I was like, I want to know. I need to know if you can hear it. But please let me know if you can't. And he's like, I can hear it. I think she's still alive.
Okay.
I was like, okay. I
Okay.
was like, we got this then. I was like, I'm going to be strong. I'm going to do this. And then
Can you tell me again, what about week are you? 36, 37?
37. Yep.
37.
I
Okay.
was just going to go in for my next appointment that week. And I was actually going to be asked if I could be induced because my boyfriend at the time was leaving for AT. So they take like 2.5, 3 weeks
Yeah, a long time
off
to
or
yeah.
gone. Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
like for him to be there with her for a little bit. But yeah, I was 37 weeks. And so I was like, well, that's a good, if she was have to be born right now, and if she's alive, then there's a possibility that she
Yep.
can make it.
Yep.
She's got a full term. And so, yeah, I remember the EMTs coming up. Then it was up on the stairs, so they had to put me on a stretcher and then carry me down to Life Flight. I remember Life Flight flying in, meeting us in the driveway, and I kept asking if somebody could come with me, and they kept saying no.
Oh.
I had to go alone. And then I remember fighting to go to my doctor that I've been seeing that is in a different town, but I had to go to the high risk hospital that had better
Yeah.
people for these actions. And so I remember going in there, going into Life Flight, and I kept asking someone to call my mom. And I just really wanted my mom to be with me.
Yeah.
And going into Life Flight and just talking to her, asking her, like, you feel like it's going to be forever to get there in the moment. Takes forever, but it's just a quick trip. Like, I think it took 7 minutes.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And yeah, I remember flying in, landing on the roof, and going in through the door. And then all of a sudden, there's a bunch of people
Yes.
in white, just all ready to go. I want to say there was like 20 people just waiting for me. And they pushed me into this room, and I lay down, and there's a doctor there that was gonna do an ultrasound. Then there's a nurse by my head that's just kept saying, we're gonna pray before we find out. We're gonna pray that everything's gonna be okay. Pray that everything's gonna be all right and you're gonna make it. And I remember the doctor put the gel on me, put the ultrasound on, and she's like, do you want to see the screen or do you not want to see the screen? And I said, I want to see the screen. And so I remember her checking, and obviously it took a while. And then that's when it hit me that I knew she didn't make it. There's no way. And then the doctor brought over another doctor and kept asking if they see anything. And then they pushed the screen away. And then that's when it really hit that she did not make it. And obviously, I'm still in shock at this point. No feelings are going through me, no emotions, no nothing. I was by myself. I didn't know what to do. And then they turned the screen back over, and that's when she said, I'm sorry, Bailey, your baby did not make it. And I was like, okay. And what is the next step? Like, I am by myself. This doesn't even feel real at the moment.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a dream. But I said, am I going to die? Is there a chance that I'm going to die? And she's like, we do not know at this point. I said, she's like, you need to go and get a CAT scan, because they said that if she was alive, that they were just going to go straight into emergency C-section.
Yep.
But since she wasn't, they took the time to get the x-rays to find more where the bullet was, more where what things were going on inside. And so I remember that I kept going in and out at this point. There's the stuff that, like, I can't really remember, but I remember going into our CAT scan, and I kept telling them that I can't lay on my back. There's no way I can lay on my back because I was just in pain.
Yeah.
They said it will only be a quick 10 minutes tops, like, and I was like, okay. So they helped me out and put a pillow on my back, and then I went in and they checked it all out, and that's where kind of like my memory kind of stops.
Yeah.
Because then I went into emergency C-section. I went out, obviously. Don't remember a thing about it. And I remember waking up in the room. The doctor was there, and she's kept repeating me like, what just happened? I lost my baby, and I was still by myself. And I was like, is my mom here? Is my sister here? Is anybody here? And they said, yep, your mom's here. She can come in. I said, okay. So it was my mom, my sister, and my cousin that came in. And I didn't know what they knew. I had no idea. But I told them, I said, my baby didn't make it. And I remember my mom saying, I know. And that was tough.
Yeah.
Tough knowing that, I don't know, then all the blame comes for yourself. Like, why was I there? What was I doing? You know?
After the CAT scan, they just took you emergency C-section right away, right?
Mhm.
And then did you get to see Hazel at all?
So right away, no. When the doctor was there that woke me up, or when I woke up, she was there. She kind of told me that they placed Hazel on my chest and did that a few minutes of skin to skin
Yeah.
before they took her back. So I mean, that is really nice knowing, but obviously it sucks not
Not
being there
being,
in the
yeah.
moment and not remembering it or seeing it or
Because I mean, most emergency C-sections, I mean, yeah, they kind of put you out sometimes, and the other times yeah. But I was going to say they were probably working on you as well, right? They
Mhm.
were sewing you up, finding whatever needed. I mean, they
Mhm.
needed to find the bullet. They needed to take care of you. What was all involved in that surgery to take care of you?
So basically it was just a C-section right now. They found where the bullet was. The bullet was actually stuck on my other leg.
Oh,
So I went through my uterus, and then, but obviously very low,
yeah. Yes.
and then was stuck between two bones on my left leg.
Okay.
Yeah, and the bullet they told me it was 0.5 millimeters away from a big artery,
Oh, holy cow.
that I could have lost it.
Yeah. Holy cow. That was,
Yeah.
I say lucky, but that is not
Mhm.
the
Right.
best
Right.
word
I mean,
either.
obviously in the scenario, I wish I would have went and she would have been
Yeah.
here, but
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so they did the emergency C-section and then you came out again, and then were they going to prep you for what was going to have to happen for the rest of the surgeries then?
yeah, so uh I think since I was doing all right, that they were okay with waiting a couple days before I think it was 2 days waiting for my other surgery to get the bullet out.
Okay.
So we came back or I was back in the room, and I remember my boyfriend at the time went to go see a nurse to see if he could see Hazel.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure he got told no, not right now.
Mm.
And so he came back in, and that's when the first time that we saw each other again. Then the doctor came in, and she's like, um, do you want to see Hazel? Or actually, I should maybe backtrack a little bit. So it was my boyfriend, my cousin, my mom, and my sister. And they said, do you have a name for her? And I was like, I don't know. And then I look at my boyfriend at the time and I said, he's okay. And he said, absolutely. And so that's when we named her Hazel K.
That's cute. And where did you get Kay? Is that, I should have asked, is that a family name or?
Yeah, so my sister and my mom's middle name are Kay.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
That's fun. That's fun.
So yeah, I named it after them. And then the nurse came in and asked if I wanted to see Hazel. And I said, there was something along the line of my boyfriend saying no, he didn't want me to see her in the circumstance. And then the nurse,
He said no
yeah, yeah.
for you.
And um, and then I thought about it. I was like, well, maybe not. I don't know what happened to her. No one
Yeah.
has told me
Nobody has.
anything.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know if the bullet hit her. I didn't know if I didn't know. I didn't know a thing.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I don't want to see her. And um it's one of the biggest regrets of my life. But um so we moved on and she said, well, I took some photos of her just in case you didn't want to see her, but I took these photos whenever you're ready if you want to see them. She just took them on her phone. It was something very special that she didn't have to do, but she did.
Yeah.
And I said, yes, I would like to see them. And so I think I backtracked a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's okay.
Sorry.
Nope, it's totally fine. I think that is, we should definitely spend some time on what you did with Hazel or what your decisions were with Hazel. Cause that's like it's important.
Yeah. So obviously we were grieving together and we had family come in throughout the night. It was a long night of just our immediate family coming right away.
Yeah.
And obviously COVID going on right away, I only could have one person. And then they bumped it to 3 people. And
Oh,
then all of a
okay.
sudden they're like, whoever wants to come and see you can come in and see you. And I was very grateful for that.
Yeah. That is kind.
And yes, they gave me a big room and I had to stay in that room for a couple days until my next surgery. So family kept coming in, friends kept coming in and visiting us. And then a couple days later is when the doctor came in and told me that she took pictures on the phone.
Oh, okay.
And so this is when I already knew that Hazel was off to the autopsy place to get all her autopsy done.
Okay.
And then she was going to head to the funeral home.
So, you guys did get an autopsy. I'm not familiar with, because there was a gun involved, that the autopsy is an automatic. Is that correct?
I think so. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So they
Yep.
had to do an autopsy.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay. To make sure to kind of rule out whatever happened and such.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And so the doctor showed us these pictures off of her phone. And obviously we just bawled looking at her, how much actually at the time we could not see her hair. Her hair was covered. She had a little hat on and then a blanket.
Uh-huh.
And we couldn't see anything else. It was just like of her face. And I mean, it was still very special. And we're just how big her nose was, her chubby cheeks, like it was actually like I mean, you're pregnant, you're gonna be a mom, but like seeing
To see.
them
Yeah.
in real life is it's a big difference.
Yeah.
That's how I knew. I was like, that's my daughter. It's my daughter right there.
Yeah.
And obviously I had to stay in the hospital for a couple days and before my surgery. And then I went back and got the bullet removed. And then I had to stay a couple more days. I think my total stay was a week long. The doctors brought in the molds of her feet. They did her
Oh.
hands.
Oh, good.
So I have those, which is really special. They
Yeah.
took the stamps and then they cut off some hair.
They did.
I have a little envelope of her hair.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And that was pretty much our hospital stay. We had people coming and going. We had funeral homes coming in. We had people to talk to for therapy. Obviously, it's a big
Oh, yes.
thing with making sure that we're okay and
Yeah.
knowing the next steps. I mean, obviously, you don't plan for this in your life. Nobody plans for this when they're pregnant.
Yeah.
And I never really thought I would be in charge of a funeral
Yeah.
for my daughter.
So Bailey, when you did finally talk to the doctor and she showed you the pictures of Hazel, did you ask her any questions about maybe how she passed away? Uh,
Um,
obviously
basic,
you had a major trauma just that had basically
yeah,
happened to you. So I'm
yeah.
curious if and it had gone through your uterus. So it
Mhm.
entered like did it hit any bones or shatter any bones or anything like that? Okay. It
No,
just
no, no. It just went straight through.
okay. And then lodged into your other leg into the bone itself. So
Mm-hmm.
okay, but didn't break that, didn't it just lodged there. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. And obviously I was in a catheter for most of my stay. I wasn't able to walk right away. Um, I had therapy coming in, and it was basically learning how to walk again
Yeah.
and learning how to get up. And I remember one of the days that they came in, they're like, all right, we're taking the catheter out. And I was like, no way. There's no way I'm going to be getting up and going to the bathroom. And so we pushed for it, took a little steps day by day. And then I finally moved on to going up and down steps. And obviously, it was very slow, very hurtful. It was very painful.
Yeah.
Um, they wanted me to be able to go upstairs, downstairs, and be able to walk, as our house had stairs to get up to
Yeah.
before going home. And finally got to the point where I was able to leave. We had a funeral in mind, but nobody was pushing things at the time, which was very nice. They said, let us take us at our own rent or at our own time.
Yeah.
And I remember packing up everything and obviously all the flowers, all the things that you get from everybody,
Mm-hmm.
just very special, but also it's very hard to walk down the halls afterwards without baby.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I see other families being happy, which they should be, but it is hard.
Yeah. You don't have
And the drive home, like I said, it was about 45 minutes from our house. So that drive home was really long, really sad. And then getting home was probably another hard thing. Um, Obviously, her nursery was set. We had everything ready to go. We actually had family and friends come to the house while we were in the hospital, and they kind of helped us pick up everything. And we told them right away that we wanted the door shut to Hazel's room.
yeah.
I mean, I had her bottles out, I had the cleaning stuff out,
Yeah.
and so they kind of just packed that all up for now.
Yeah.
And so we didn't have to walk into everything baby proof or
Yeah.
everything baby. So when we got home, it was long. And then we had to start doing the funeral process. And I always said that I wanted to walk before her funeral. That's one of my
Okay.
goals. I want to walk without my walker.
Yeah.
So I don't want to have her funeral until then. And we knew that we wanted her to be cremated.
Okay.
So we met with the funeral home a couple days later, and then they told us that she should be coming back from her autopsy, and then that will be a time where we can finally say our goodbyes before
Okay.
she goes and gets cremated. I remember waking up that day and feeling very sick. Like it was like the first time that I ever felt like a for real elephant was sitting on my chest.
Oh.
Like I couldn't breathe. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what to do. But I actually had my cousin who was a nurse was actually made a connection with their hospital's, I want to say, grievement person who comes in and talks to them.
Yeah. It's like a
She gave me a
counselor.
phone. Yeah, she gave me a phone call, and she kind of went through all the steps about how today's gonna go. She's like, you can do anything you want. You can tell them anything you want. This is your child.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to write down a journal of what you want to say to Hazel, if you want to sing her a lullaby, if
Mm.
you want to bring anything to be cremated with, like your baby blanket or a certain outfit, she's like, you can do literally anything. She's like, I want to give you some points. You take it and you can do whatever with them.
That's good.
Yeah. And so I gathered up my baby blanket. My boyfriend took his name tag from the military. And so we brought that in. And I wrote a little note that I still have what I wanted to say. And I remember our families came with us, or our parents came with us to the funeral home. We kind of went over the steps of the funeral home, what we wanted. And then it was finally time to go into the room and see her. And they kind of gave me some advice. So they said, I don't know if it wasn't word for word, but it was something around like, not sure about holding her as she won't feel like a baby. And I was just kind of crushed by that. I didn't know how to take it. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know if like fluids or something got to her, if she was like lopsided. Like I still at this point had no idea what truly happened to her.
Yeah. Okay.
And so we went in. They said that right away she's going to be covered with 2 blankets. And then as you want, you can take off a blanket and then you'll see her arms. And then you can take off another blanket and you'll see her feet and her legs. And so obviously you go in there and you see blankets covering your child is very hard to see. And so just took my time, and that was the first time I got to see her hands, and it was very special. She had really long fingers at the top, and then she had like chunky from the knuckle down.
Oh, really?
So that's kind of like a memory we always have, and what we kind of can laugh about is her. I always say her funny hands, how it was long and skinny, and then chubby. It was like her mom's hands in the front, and then at the bottom was her dad's.
That's funny. In the hand.
Yeah. Yeah, and then her legs and her feet. She had long legs. She was 20 inches long, and she weighed about 5 pounds and 10 ounces.
Oh, okay.
And so, yeah. And then we saw little hairs on her legs and her arms. And it's kind of how I came out. I came out with a lot of hair. I came out with a lot of hair on my body. My dad always made the joke that I was half monkey.
Oh.
Yeah, but so it's kind of special, like seeing those resemblance of you on your child.
Yeah.
And then I still couldn't see her face. It was covered, and it was something that I couldn't do. And then obviously it's another regret that I wish I would have pushed for my child and pushed for myself, as being able to see her in person.
Yeah.
At the time I was just listening to everybody else and worrying about everyone else's feelings and not really of my own. And I knew that I should have done it. I should have looked at her, I should have held her, anything I wanted. And then I think we spent about an hour in there, and then it was finally time to say our last goodbye. We gave her all the things, covered her up in my blanket, and then we came back out, and it was another tough day.
Yeah.
I'm still in my walker. Obviously, it's exhausting. You just don't know how to cope with it.
Yeah. The funeral home is, not
No.
great. It's not a great place.
You just walk in and it's just, your mode is, But,
Bailey, can I ask you a quick question?
mhm.
What are some of the things that you guys did with her for that hour that you spent? What are some things?
Obviously, I touched her the whole time.
Yeah.
I read her what I wanted to say to her, just apologizing for everything, and wishing things were different. Obviously, we had a couple chuckles about her fingers, so it's kind of nice when we're just sobbing and crying. We
Yeah.
had a couple laughs.
Yes.
But and then I wanted to take some pictures of the pictures that I had. And so we took pictures of her hands and her legs and feet. And then we took them of holding them in our hands.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like us both. And then her feet were on them. Those are pretty special pictures.
Yeah.
Basically what we did during the time. Lots of crying, lots of holding hands, and just spending that time with her.
Yeah.
For the first time, really.
And you did mention that you were worried about looking at her face up until then, because nobody still had told you what had happened or how she looked or anything like that. Is that right?
No, nobody. I mean, I guess it's not really a question I asked either, because I kind of just assumed,
Yeah.
but I also did not know
What?
anything.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Obviously, I knew that that's how she passed, was from the bullet, but I didn't know where it went in, or if it went in, or if it hit something. I had no idea at this point.
Yeah. You did have some other pictures from the doctor that showed her face and everything. Okay.
Yep.
So you have
And
those.
so, yeah, I had a picture of her face, and it was actually just a picture of her half face. There was a blanket covering the half of her face. So that's kind of where I put into my mind
That she
is
had.
that is where she got hit.
Yeah.
But again, I didn't confirm it with anybody.
Okay.
It was just in the back of my mind. And so we planned the funeral that day. I think it was like a week or two later. I asked my sister if she would sing, because she has the most beautiful voice. And she said, if you want me to, I will. And so it's a song I always remember. It's Jealous of My Angels.
Hmm.
And she sang that. And yeah, the day of her funeral, we had it in the early morning. And I remember getting to the church, and all of a sudden this church was just packed
I'm sure.
from top to bottom. We had a very supportive community.
Yeah.
I'm forever thankful for it. They were there for us. It was a packed church, and then the pastor told me, it's pretty packed in there. I don't know if you want to walk down the aisle, or else you can come out from the side.
Yeah.
So you don't have to face anybody. And so we decided to come out from the side and go in the pew, and it was a beautiful service.
Yeah.
A lot of cries. And then finally I wanted to walk by myself down the aisle back. It's just something that I wanted to do for her. I wanted to be brave. I wanted to be strong. And so when we exited, we went down the aisle, and we had people come out. I was trying to get away and head to the house, but obviously when people come out, they want to see you. They want to give you the hugs.
Yeah.
And so I think I hugged almost everybody in there, which again is grateful. I'm very
Yes,
grateful
that
for our
support is.
community.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah,
But it
I had
is
a couple
exhausting.
posters made, or canvases, and I had her molds out. And then we got these like dog tags from the hospital too. So I had those out, and I had just like a little table of remembrance for her.
Yeah,
And so that was pretty special to have that.
that's great. And then did you get the autopsy results after that? I know it takes a while
It
for
does, yeah.
autopsies to actually come back.
Yeah. So yeah, we went through, obviously you go through your own grieving process, your own therapy. And then one of the things I wanted to do was meet with the doctor that was in my surgery. And I just wanted to go have an appointment with her, and I wanted to ask all the questions.
Yes.
I had a list of questions I wanted to know about her. And so it was a couple weeks later that I went in and I talked to her. And well, I also had to get my staples out too.
Mm,
And so I got the staples out on my stomach and staples out on my leg too.
yeah.
And so,
Oh man, that's like a lot. It was like your surgeries, like your
yeah,
emergency C-section, and then plus your other surgeries. That is
yeah,
a lot. That's
it
so
was.
much, Bailey. I was like, holy cow, this is crazy. Okay. So you went in and had those taken out, and then what did you ask her all of your questions?
Yeah. So I asked her, and I said, I want to know if the bullet hit her, where it hit her, and where it came out, and I said, and then I asked, did she feel like a baby being held? And she said, yes. And then that's when I broke down, knowing that I made the wrong choice. And she told me that it did go through her head.
Oh.
And it came out her head. It went in her back, behind her ear, and then came out on the bridge of her nose.
Oh.
So that kind of put into place why the picture that we had of her was covered.
Yeah.
We kind of talked about it, how she had tan skin. Her hair was crazy. It was super long, and she had a little wave to it. And it was kind of, I finally got that, I want to say, I don't know, that like closure, a little bit of knowing what happened to her.
Yeah.
And so then after that, I kind of just did remembrance of her every month. We let go of balloons, and then obviously picking out her gravestone. We knew obviously she wasn't going to be buried there, but we wanted just a memorial bench for her, or for
Yeah.
people to come and visit and just spend the time. And so picking that out, it's a lot. It's crazy for parents to just pick that out for a little baby.
Yeah.
And so we found the perfect one, and we got to make it personalized for her. And then I think I want to say it was about December. My sister and I were just sitting at her house, and we're just like talking about her. My sister was the most supportive person ever. I couldn't have done it without her.
Yeah.
And she's like, did she go in for an autopsy? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, because I always told her how it was one of my biggest regrets was not being able to see her. And she said, well, why don't we reach out to the place that took it and see, because obviously they have to take pictures for their
for their reports and everything.
Yeah. So she's like, why don't you reach out to them and just see if they have any pictures? They're like, we know it's over that 6 month. I was like, I didn't know if there's a certain time limit that they keep everything, or if what they do with it. So I reached out to them, and the lady called me back a couple days later and said, yeah, we have pictures. We have things if you want. And I said, am I able to come and see them? I was like, I told her kind of the story. I said, I wasn't able to see her. I wasn't able to do anything. I just want to see her. I want to see the full her.
Yeah.
And she said, absolutely. So we arranged a time, and my sister came with me, and we came in, and it was pretty special. Like they could have just given me these pictures and that's it. But this girl went above and beyond, and I walked in, and it was like a slideshow. And she said, baby Hazel, baby girl Hazel. And I was like, this is awesome.
That is so kind.
Yeah. And so her and I talked about it, and she said, the first picture is this, the second picture is this, and then the third is when you'll see her, like fully, without edited, without anything. Because she said that her and another person she worked with, they actually took the time to edit photos between the time that I called and now. And so she told me, she's like, this is an edited one. And it was like her full face.
Yeah.
And it was just beautiful.
Oh.
I could see her for who she was.
Yeah.
See the whole her. And that's when first time I saw her hair, and I look at my sister and I was like, holy cow, she has a lot of hair.
Yeah.
And it was pretty special. I mean, it was dark, and that's when she told me that her eyes were brown.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, oh, that's something I just didn't think of. I didn't think of to ask. I didn't think of what the colors they would be, And so at the time, her eyes were brown. So that was pretty special because I got blue eyes.
Yeah.
But Yeah. And so we went through those pictures, and then she's like, this next one is unedited. You're going to see it. And I said, okay. And she's like, I'm just going to give you a heads up, like where it is on her, what you'll see and everything. And then I look at it and my stomach just dropped. And I said, this is her. And it was actually pretty special to know, like, you couldn't really see anything at
Oh,
all. There was no, I mean, obviously there was damage, there was blood, there was
yeah.
a little bit, but nothing that I was picturing in my head.
Okay.
You couldn't fully see the exit hole, you couldn't really see much.
Yeah.
And it was just the most beautiful picture.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's a
And
blessing right there. Holy cow. That
it
is.
is. Yeah. And then, so that was a close up of her. And then the next one was her full body.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the two pictures that I have on my phone that I love them because I can see her full body. Like I can see her stomach, I can see
Yeah.
her legs, I can see her neck, I can see her head, like just everything. And it's just perfect.
Oh,
She was a perfect little baby.
yay.
Yeah,
Those little babies. Yeah. They're perfect, right?
they are. Yes.
What a special. First of all, I'm going to say your sister is a godsend because, like, even just to put that in your head to just go try and
Mm-hmm.
see if you can get that file or the picture.
Absolutely.
I think that was a big deal. And then the people there at the coroner's office was they sound amazing. Like
Yeah,
good, kind
I
people.
did not expect anything like that, and they did.
Yeah.
And they actually gave me a flash drive to
Oh,
have these pictures forever.
yeah.
That's, that's awesome.
Yeah, that is wonderful. That's wonderful.
Mhm.
Did that feel like a bit of, like you said before, it's not necessarily closure, but did you feel
Yeah, I did. I
that?
did feel, I felt like my last step that I always wanted was met. And I got to see her for who she was. And I got to see the full her without edited, without covering.
Yeah.
And I know everybody was just trying to protect me and my views, but it's what I needed is to see the full thing.
Who she was. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was a picture that I hid for, I want to say 2 years.
Hmm.
I didn't show anybody until this past year.
Really.
Yeah.
Sometimes those are sacred.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes those are special, and just you kind of hold them close to your heart, and that is wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Also, because those
Yeah.
are there's a few of them that I don't share with my son yet either. Had no,
Yeah.
not really. Just me and my husband have seen them. So
Right.
I'm just so sorry. This is like I'm assuming your recovery for your legs, muscles, everything that was essentially damaged by the bullet
Mm-hmm.
um was okay, was progressing well. Any permanent damage that you are aware of?
Nope. Nope. I recovered and they said that I was able to have more babies when I was ready.
Okay.
And
Because
so that was one of the biggest concern that I wanted if I was ever going to be a mom again.
especially if it went through your, I mean, yeah, it hit,
Mhm.
obviously hit Hazel, so went through your uterus and everything.
Yeah.
So, okay. So they do feel like it is a positive, you have it looks positive for you. So,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
good. That's great. Bailey, I think that there's going to be a few people that want to know a little bit more about the whole the gun discharging. So I'm wondering if you can go a little bit into that and what happened and like what happened afterwards, because obviously there was actually one, right? There's one casualty, and your life, you have been hurt significantly. So can you tell us a little bit about how that was handled, and if you don't want to get into some certain things, you don't have to mention it. I'll try not to pry too much, but if you want to share, then I'm sure others will be curious to know what happened,
Hmm.
um and if there was any resolution to that.
Yeah. So, the person next to me that was sitting next to me was actually my boyfriend at the time.
Okay.
And he was the one that the gun went off in his hands. And so that is why he couldn't come with me right away. We didn't know what was going to happen. But afterwards, after we got home, the sheriff came over and I kind of had to say my statement. And it was an accident, and accidents do happen. And I pressed no charges. It's just something that we have to learn from this day forward.
Yeah. Probably was quite heavy, and
It was really hard recovery with going through grieving
yeah.
when we were both on two different pages of the story.
Yeah.
And supporting one another was really hard.
Did you find that you were getting some support from him? Or I guess I can imagine there was a lot of obviously anger and guilt, and there's
Yeah.
along with the grief and
Right.
right, there's all of it. There's
There's
like
a
so
lot.
many layers of it. So I'm how was that?
Yeah, it was hard. Obviously, we went through right away. We were really together. We were supporting one another. We were listening to one another. We kind of kept to ourselves for a while, and then as months go on, I think is when anger started to come out, and um, just things that it was really hard actually because I wanted my house to be um, full of her. I wanted her to be everywhere in my house. And my boyfriend at the time couldn't take it. He couldn't take looking at her. And I think that was one of the biggest things that hurt me the most is the baby that we made, baby that we created, baby that I carried for almost 9 months,
Yeah.
that I just have to not have her in the house. But we came to terms and we had one little area of her. We still had her nursery up for a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a lot of anger, a lot of anger. And obviously, I think a couple of years or a year and a half after is when that was our falling out. We couldn't be together anymore with what happened. It was really hard to support one another and love one another and to be on the same page again.
Yeah.
It was something that we knew that we probably would never be on. So in that time, it was his house, and so I had to pack up everything, and that was the first time packing up Hazel's stuff.
Oh. So Bailey, I know that we kind of went over a number of the details in your birth story, and not really mentioning that it was your then boyfriend that had discharged the gun. So I suspect that there was a lot of I personally, if this happened to my sister, this I would have been all up in his face, honestly. So how did your family take that information and news, and yeah, how did that work out?
Obviously, the first thing was to making sure that I was okay.
Yeah.
Everyone was there for me, but it was a long process. It was a long road of being able to face my parents and still being together. Obviously, there's a lot of anger with our family between my mom and dad, really, and my sister. But they kind of kept quiet as they knew that I was kind of basically I was protecting him. I didn't let my feelings come out. I didn't protect myself in my life. I was really worried about him in the ways that I probably shouldn't have been.
Mm-hmm.
But you think of it when you're young, you're in love, you think that that is your forever, and it really wasn't. And it was really long. It was long. It was a long couple of, I think it was a year and a half afterwards. And
So were your parents, I know that you said that you kind of put him a little bit first and kind of put your feelings in the background there. Did your parents say anything to you, or your sister say anything to you about it, or um question you about not pressing charges, that type of thing?
not really. I think everyone was still in shock right away. And um, I knew there was a lot of anger, but I remember my dad always saying, if you're okay and if this is how you want to live your life, then I have to keep my mouth shut and I have to protect you. And he said, if you're happy, then I will support you in any ways that I can.
What a good dad.
Right. Yeah. I never thought about pressing charges. It was never really a thing that came to my mind. I knew it was an accident and I knew that it wasn't on purpose.
Yeah.
And accidents do happen.
Hmm.
And I don't know how I would have been if it was a friend that did it or if it was somebody else that did it.
Right.
I mean, you think of it, then yeah, maybe I would have pressed charges, but knowing that it was your boyfriend at the time and knowing that it was an accident, that it wasn't really something I thought of
Yeah.
as we grieved of losing her together, that I didn't really want to do it by myself.
Yes, because it is hard. It's a hard road anyway. So,
Hmm.
Bailey, thank you so much. That I think that will help others feel like knowing that sometimes it's a journey, and sometimes you learn a lot about yourself, and as you
You
go
do.
through life, and it sounds like you've had in the 3.5 years, you've really been able to like heal and grow and learn some stuff.
Hmm.
Has been
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. I think this last 6 months have been the happiest that I've ever been since then. And I'm
Great.
pretty proud of it.
That's great. Yeah, because it
Hmm.
does take work to be in
Does.
that place. So
Yeah.
that's great that you have felt like peace and happiness for this last 6 months. I'm wondering, is there anything that has been helpful to you to in that healing and that the growth? Is there anything that's been helpful for you?
Yeah. I went to therapy right away. There's a couple that I went and I didn't really like. And then I finally found a girl and um, she did EMDR training, which is the eye movement desensitization progress.
Desensitization. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, processing. And I did not have any idea what it was. And so we took it. So basically, it's how I'm able to tell my story. It's how I'm able to say it fully. And what we did is we broke up the trauma and the accident by little pieces. And each session that we did, we focused on the one section. And it was about talking about it and then thinking of like a different room you're in, something that calms you, and think of different things when you're able to say it. And so I think that really helped me process the full traumatic event,
Yeah.
and I'm able to say it to this day. And I think that is really amazing. I am thankful for the EMDR therapy that I did, and really just my friends and my family just being there for me every year.
Yeah.
Celebrating her birthday is a big thing. I get together and we all release balloons,
Oh, uh-huh.
and I let the kids draw on these rocks that I bring out to her memorial bench. And I think the biggest thing is letting go of the relationship that I was in. I think that had to do a lot with being truly happy now.
Yeah.
It's a big weight that is off my shoulder that I didn't think was ever there, but it was.
But it was. That's great. A couple things. EMDR has been a very helpful therapy for me, honestly, and I think
Mhm.
Lee has also found it helpful. when we have done that mode of therapy. So I
Mhm.
think that's awesome. If you don't know much about it, it does help process trauma. Like, and this is a big T trauma type of a situation. Like there's a lot that you have dealt with, and it's great that you were able to find somebody. Oh, that was going to be another thing I'm going to throw in there is that you got to shop around for a therapist until you find the right person, because
You really do.
you're not going to click with everybody. So that's just another little tip if you are going through this, is that shop around. It's okay if somebody doesn't click with you. It's not the right. It might not be the right person. So
Yeah.
and then I think that's really cool that your family is so supportive of honoring Hazel, remembering her. They seem to be very involved and wanting to talk about her and wanting to
They are.
be.
And I am very thankful that they're actually see her as a grandchild and a
Yeah.
niece and actually a person, not just an event that took place and
Yeah.
not just the trauma that took place. She's a baby. She was a person. She was there. And it's somebody that I will never forget. And I do want to say thank you for providing this podcast, because during my time, I was searching on podcasts and I found you guys. And that's what really helped me the first year, was listening to other people's stories and connecting with them and just driving in my car, crying along with them. And that is another thing that helped me a lot. And so I'm thankful for you guys.
I'm so glad. That's what we wanted to have a podcast to listen to, but there was nothing there. So we're like, let's just start it. We'll just do it.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that that was a comfort to you. And thanks to all the parents that have shared other stories that were willing to be vulnerable, just like you, Bailey, to
Mhm.
tell your story. Bailey, I thank you again for your time today. I want to just ask you one last thing, that anything that you would like to share about Hazel before we close today, that you want to
Um,
remember about her, and say to her.
that I will always remember her little kicks and her hiccups in my belly, and that she was forever my hero. She saved my life. If it wouldn't have been for her, that I know that I wouldn't have made it. And that I always say that she is forever my 5 pounds, 10 ounce sweet baby girl who is my hero.
Thank you. That is beautiful.
Thank you.